You probably think your government controls your money, right? Well, what if I told you the real power actually moved into the shadows centuries ago? Yeah, behind every modern hedge fund, there's a blueprint, an old one, designed way back in the counting houses of Venice, with one goal in mind, to make private capital completely untouchable. So, let's follow that trail. So it really makes you wonder, who actually holds the levers of power? If you think it's the people in government buildings, the ones you vote for, you might be looking at a performance. The real system, the one that calls the shots, operates just out of sight, and it has a long, long history. And this is the part you really gotta get. None of this is new. Behind the shiny glass walls of that private equity firm that maybe owns your mortgage, or your doctor's office, or even your whole neighborhood, there's an ancient system at play. A system perfected centuries ago for one purpose: to make private money impossible to touch. Not by a king, not by a government, not by anyone. To really understand how this works, we've got to go back, way back. We're heading to 14th century Venice because that's where the architecture of this whole shadow power was first designed. Okay, check this out. The Venetian merchants had this absolute light bulb moment. They looked at the kings with their big castles, their shiny crowns, their massive armies, and they saw a weakness. All that stuff is visible, it's obvious, and anything visible can be attacked, it can be taxed, it can be taken. The merchants realized, you know what? Visibility is a liability. So they built their power on things you couldn't see, things like trade routes, complex credit deals, secret contracts. Their power was totally invisible, and because of that, it was untouchable. And here's how they did it. It's like a 4-step playbook, and it's brilliant. They didn't break the law, they just engineered their way around it. Step 1. Find the rule. Back then, a big one was the church banning charging interest on loans, or usury. Step 2. Create a gray zone. So they invented these super complex contracts that looked like a business partnership on paper, but, surprise, they functioned exactly like a loan with interest. They found a loophole. Step 3. Move faster than the regulators. They operated across different cities and kingdoms where the rules were fuzzy and slow to catch up. And step 4. This was the masterstroke. Control the infrastructure. Forget the crown and the castle. If you own the ships, the trade routes, the grain supplies, you're the one who's really in charge. You basically own the king. Now, a system this powerful, it wasn't going to stay in Venice. Oh no. This blueprint was about to get a massive upgrade. It was about to be supercharged, fused directly with the power of a nation-state, to build an empire bigger than anything the world had ever seen before. You can see the direct line right here. It starts in the 14th century with those clever Venetian merchants. Then, jump forward to 1694, the Bank of England is founded, and this is a total game changer. They take that private invisible power and they merge it with the state. This fusion creates this incredible engine for empire. And today that same model has gone global. We just call it the shadow banking system. And that was the revolution. The Bank of England basically created this unstoppable feedback loop. It worked like this. The government borrows money from the bank to fund a war. The war is won, which opens up new trade routes. That trade brings in huge profits, and those profits pay back the debt with interest. Then you just rinse and repeat. So while it looked like it was the admirals and the generals building the British Empire, the real architects, the guys running the show, they were the bankers, quietly keeping that engine of credit, commerce, and conquest humming. So what happened to our Venetian ghost? Did it just vanish when the British Empire faded away? Nope, not a chance. It just adapted. It shed its old clothes, put on a sharp suit, and moved into the high-rises of Wall Street and London. Today, it has a new name, the shadow banking system. We're talking about hedge funds, private equity firms, all these financial players that operate in that exact same gray zone the Venetians perfected centuries ago. See, because they aren't technically banks, they don't have to play by the same rules. There's less regulation, less transparency. It's like they're driving a Ferrari off-road, super fast, and they're doing it with other people's money. And that is the perfect way to put it. They are playing a high-stakes poker game with someone else's chips, at a table you're not even allowed to see. They can make these gigantic bets using borrowed money. When the bets pay off, they get unbelievably rich. But when they go wrong, well, then you get 2008. The whole global financial system nearly collapses, millions of people lose their homes, and the very system that caused the meltdown gets bailed out. Okay, I know this can all sound kind of big and abstract. Wall Street, global finance, but this isn't just some ghost haunting the stock market. It's much closer than that. This ghost has moved into our neighborhoods. In fact, it might even be your landlord. Just let this number sink in for a second. In certain American cities, these institutional investors, we're talking private equity firms, hedge funds, the modern-day shadow banks, they now own 1 out of every 5 single-family homes that are for rent. 1 in 5. They're not just buying a house here or there, they're buying up entire neighborhoods and turning them from communities into corporate rental portfolios. So what does that mean for you? It means you're not renting from a person anymore. You're renting from a spreadsheet. Your rent isn't decided by a local landlord who knows the area. No, it's set by some algorithm, probably in an office 1,000 miles away, and its only job is to figure out the absolute maximum price the market will bear. The human part of it, it's gone. It's all just numbers on a balance sheet. And here's the thing that's so hard to wrap your head around. This isn't necessarily corruption in the way we usually think of it. It's not a bribe in an envelope, it's architecture. The entire system is designed this way. Ownership is hidden on purpose, buried under layers and layers of shell companies and other complex legal structures. Why? So they can take thousands of individual rent payments, bundle them all together, and sell them off as a financial product to investors around the world. It's a machine built to extract value. So look, hearing all this isn't about getting cynical or feeling helpless. It's about being prepared. It's about opening your eyes. Because in a system that was literally designed to be confusing and misunderstood, knowledge is the only real defense you have. It's your only shield. So what can you actually do? It boils down to 3 really important shifts in how you think. First, understand that money isn't wealth. Digits in a bank account can disappear. Real wealth is tangible stuff. Land, your skills, your knowledge, your community. Second, recognize that debt is not a neutral tool. The whole system is tilted to favor the people who lend the money, not the people who borrow it. And third, and this is maybe the most important, financial education isn't optional anymore. It's not a nice to have. In the world we live in now, it is your number 1 shield against being exploited. When you look back through history, you see a pattern. Empires rarely die on the battlefield. They die on the balance sheet. They crumble when the trust in their financial system disappears. The Venetian ghost won and continues to win because it's always been more adaptable and way faster than the law. And when you look at our world today, a world built on just staggering levels of debt, you really have to ask yourself, is history trying to send us a warning?